Hello everyone, Kerry the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here with 2023 May colour combo. Now before I get loads of comments, I'm wearing a glove, I've injured my wrist, I'm having to wear a wrist brace for a couple of weeks, and I'm wearing a glove purely because I don't really want to get paint on my wrist brace. So moving along, I'm okay, it was just a bit of a It was just an accident, so it's fine. It'll repair, there's no problem. So the colour combo is something that Paula Keane and myself, who are members of a group called the Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists group, which is on Facebook, which is actually run by the lovely Patricia and Mariah at PM Artist Studio. So the P is Patricia, the M is Mariah, the Artist Studio is all of them. Small business in Texas, love them, I designed for them. I will put a link in the description box to the Facebook group which I'm part of, which is what generates these monthly experiments in colour, along with all of the other stuff they do monthly. And there's an exciting group of artists. We're supportive, we promote each other. End of story, you get it. It's a fabulous place to be. You'll need to answer 2 questions before you're allowed in. They are so simple, don't worry about it. So, now, each month we create a colour combo. Now, these are not created by Paula and myself. They're created by subscribers' requests over the year. We're already working on 2024. That'll tell you how many requests we've got. So we don't generate them, but if there's a problem with any of them, I feel we have the right to modify them. And funnily enough, this is one of the months. So this month, the colour combo is use Paynes Grey. Now, if you don't have Paynes Grey, I would say use black with a bit of blue in it, because it's sort of a bluey black. Don't go out and specifically buy Paynes Grey for the colour combo. Use what you've got. We're trying to make sure no one's overspending. Silver, I've got Silver by Amsterdam here. Then normally we allow you to use black and white and a metallic, but you've instantly seen the problem. The silver is the metallic. So this month, we've decided to throw you a wild card. Now, I think this is quite a difficult colour combination. So we have said, you have a wild card. You can add any one extra colour you like to this to be able to complete. Now, you've always got the ability to add other colours if you really need an accent piece or it's missing a little pop of something. But the colours that should be predominant are Paynes Grey and Silver. And for me, I'm going to add Wine Red by Arteza. So these 3 colours, these 2 colours and this colour, pretty much need to be predominant in them, or at least visible. The black and white are purely there as mixing or changing shades or tones or hues, or whatever the word is, you know what I mean. I'm going to struggle, I think, with this, because to me, Paynes Grey and black are very, very similar. So I think if I'm going to use black, I'm going to have to make lighter shades of grey to complement this. Silver, for me, I'm not a fan of silver. Now, this is sort of a semi-opaque. It's the closest to an opaque silver I have. I've used it in the past. I've only got a small tube of it, but that's fine. I pulled this Wine Red out because I think I want to go, dare I say, almost like an industrial or an oldie-worldy feel, but who knows where this is going to go. So what I'm going to do straight off the get-go, and sorry if my dexterity is a bit off today, obviously I have a wrist issue going on. So I'm going to mix up a little bit of paints on here. This is a really good start. If oh, that's a lot more than expected. I'm going to put a little bit of Paynes Grey in here. And I think I want to put a real touch of white in here as well. Now, all of the brand paints I'm using are just the ones that I'm choosing to use. This doesn't have to be done with any choice at all. It doesn't even have to be done with paint. This challenge has always been about any medium is possible. So if you're someone who works in ceramics, use the colours as your base for your ceramic glazes maybe. If you're someone who works in glass, maybe it's a stained glass combination you're working with. Right, I'm just getting a background down so that my paper is not going to be white. I have had to be slightly creative with what I'm doing, purely because, I need to remember the edge there too, purely because I just needed to make something. So I'll show you when I get there. Right, I'm just going to pull this off here, and then I'm going to turn this round because I know there's a white bit there, and I'm going to pick up edges along there just so that I've got all of my corners and pieces covered. It's not truly essential, but it's something I like to do, and then I don't have to worry about trying to cover them in the future. A little touch there. So this is the very first bit I've got. I like that. That's kind of what I was going for, so I'm fine with that. Now, I do have stuff on here, and I've got stuff on here, and I think somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, I've got this. I think this is one I used to clean up in my last colour combo. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down and pick it up onto there. Usually I would pick up on tissue paper, and the tissue paper I use is Carnival tissue paper. It's a British product, I believe. However, you could easily be using gift wrap tissue paper to do the same thing. I need to get my Baron. Oh, this will help my wrist a bit. A Baron is a tool. This one happens to be wooden. This was turned or lathe created by someone called Anthony Cody from Cody Woodcrafts, I believe it is, on Etsy. Very talented man. Love his products, and for me that just makes a lot of difference. Okay, see, that's come along nice. This is literally just a cleanup. Not sure what's going to happen with that. Now, I got some gunk on here. Don't mind the gunk on here. Do not want the gunk on here though, purely because I want to try and not contaminate my stuff. Right, I'm just cleaning this up with a bit of tissue paper. This could be gift wrap tissue paper. This happens to be Carnival tissue paper, purely because I use Carnival tissue paper for my collage pieces. So let's see if there's anything I can pick up here. It's really weird being one-handed almost, because I don't seem to be able to, I can't rub a rubber glove in the same way that I would with my bare hands. So a little bit peculiar. See, stuff like this, once it's torn up, looks fabulous in collage. Right. So let me talk about what I'm kind of planning to do here. I wanted to start with a darker background. Now, normally I start with a light background. So if I start with a light background, I work towards dark. But as I'm starting with a dark background, I'm going to try and creep forward to a lighter mixture of colours and then add darker detail on top. So I am aware I need to put silver into this, because currently all I've got in here is the Paynes Grey. And as you can see, this, as I said, Paynes Grey is sort of a bluish grey. That's kind of the best I can explain it, actually, because I would think grey is adding white and black, but no, this has got a hint of blue in it, which, as I said, if you add a bit of blue, you'll get close to it. We're not going to send the colour police off anyone who doesn't use the correct stuff. Right, I think I want to come in now that I've got a bit of a background, and I think I want to add a little bit of silver into this, just a touch of silver. Now, for me, metallics dry very, very quickly in this country. For some reason, it's the only paint that really does dry quickly, except for highly pigmented colours like black and Prussian blue. So I've just thrown that down there. Now, I know my 12 by 12 is slightly wet as well, because that was quite a first layer of paint was quite thick. So this is so much easier than pressing my hand down, because the weight of this Baron actually really does enable me to press down without pressing too hard. And I bought this before I actually injured my wrist, because purely it's hard going sometimes. You do a lot of gel printing. So right, so I've just added a hint of silver into that. So we've got that sort of metallicness going on there. Now, I need to add back detail. I need to add fore detail, as in foreground and background. I need to work out what I need to add where. Now, my thinking is, I think I'd like to add some white into the background. Right, I told you I launched a couple of designs. So I've launched recently four foam stamps, and I create my foam stamps to be used on a gel plate because that's what I like. I think this is called line dot dash. Oh God, I think this is called dash dash dash. This might be peculiar pebbles, and this might be called block burst. I will put links to these in the description box should you want to pop over and take a look. This is the one I'm going to use, which is line dot dash, but I thought I'd like to show them all to you. So I like foam stamps for gel printing because they do pick up acrylic paint quite well. They then stamp down quite well. What I would say is, as with any piece of equipment, you need to look after them. These are foam, they're laser cut, they're quite resistant, but what I would do is, the moment you've actually used the stamp, because it's going to have acrylic paint on it, I like to lie it onto a damp cloth, just so that it keeps the paint moist, so that then the paint doesn't dry up on here. So if you see me do that, that's what I'm doing it for. Now, I'm going to use some white chalk paint for this, because I want this bit of design to be quite dark, quite flat. I don't really want anything to be shiny other than the silver. So just using my 5x7 as almost an ink pad. Now, I'm not looking for perfect. I'm just looking to pick the paint up, as you can see, and I want to put places on here where I'm putting the design down. Now, I'm trying to keep quite vertical, horizontal, purely because I'm thinking industrial here, and I'm almost thinking like, what was I going to say? Like, almost like a motherboard for something. Which I think that's enough. Let's just... Where's that piece gone? I'll do that later. Right, I'm going to stop the video a moment because I want to go away and wash this, because I've got it sitting on here and I just realised I'm not going to be using it again for a long while. So I'm going to pause you for 2 seconds, and that gives me time for this to dry on the plate, which it needs to. And then I'm just going to nip off and clean this off and clean this off. So I'll be back in 2 seconds for you. So here I am back again. I literally just ran under the tap just to wash the acrylic off. I do use these sometimes with my archival inks. I would say, remember, it's compressed foam, so check that when you're actually using your inks, I wouldn't use anything that's got like an acetone or something in it, because even with a clear stamp, it could damage the stamp. But I like to give them a little wash. I will then leave this air dry before I put it back in its box and put the lid on it. So as you can see, I've now got something on here that gives me a bit of interest that will go into the background. Now, when it comes to other things on here, I'm not really sure, as I said, how this is going to pan out, because I've got this sort of say that 3 times, this industrial idea that I want to use, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it. So you're on the journey with me, guys. You're on the journey with me. Now, I wanted to use a stencil on here to create blocks, and I didn't have a stencil. So what I did is I cut strips of Yupo. You can see I've got a very expensive bit of technology there, a clothes peg. These were strips of Yupo that I cut off the edges of some of the surrounds that come with stencils from PM Artist Studio. So when you order a stencil off PM Artist Studio, if you ask for the inners and the outers, you'll get this sort of thing. So as you can see, I cut the strips off those. So I had strips because I had this idea. I wanted to create almost like paneling onto this. So I made what someone referred to as a Frankenstencil. So I've made a grid, which I'm going to use to put down, and I've used strips of washi tape to hold it together. Now, this is probably not going to last past the 1 use. If it does, I'll keep it, but I mean, I don't expect it to last that long. I'm literally playing with fire here, guys. So my intent is I'm going to put this down after I've lifted this off, and then I'm going to put silver on, and then when I lift this off and pick that up, I will then have these silvery blocks. It may or may not work. We're just going to cross our fingers on that one. Right, I want to see how wet any of this is. I know there's 1 or 2 wet bits here. I just want to pull off the excess just because I don't want to stand around forever looking to get this done. And this is background. And remember, the background is a background because it's a background. It didn't lift up much. As you can see, it's almost dry. I don't mind that. Right. So I need to now think, how am I going to pick this up? Now, I've already got quite a dark colour and we have a shimmer on it. Now, any of the colours we use, we can add black or white to. I think I'd quite like... Maybe if I pick this up again with Paynes Grey and the red wine, it only needs to be a thin coat. Now, normally I would use a transparent for this. This is, Paynes Grey is actually an opaque. And the wine, red wine one, doesn't actually have anything on it, but I believe this is an opaque as well. So if I don't pick everything up, I am not stressing about that either. All I want to do is just lift up parts of this. Even if I just brayer over where the blocks are, that also doesn't bother me. So just loading up my brayer a bit. Now, actually, that is a good idea. I'm just going to brayer over the places where the stenciled, the stamp pieces are, purely because then I won't cover up on my silver. And I don't mind a blockish background here, because that will just add to the whole industrial feel that I'm kind of going for. Let's just pop this one down. Give it a bit of a press down. Yeah, it's funny, I've had this 12 by 12 gel plate for a few years now, and it seems to have gone slightly out of shape. I mean, it used to be 12 by 12. I'm not sure it's still those dimensions anymore. I think it's contorted itself, should we say. Now, let's take this spare paint off here and put it onto my background. I'm just killing time here. I just want this to grip onto the white paint that's below it and see what we can do with it. So right, let's see where we're at with this. Oh, good. Okay, right. Oh, I like that. Let's see if I can pick up those last few pieces, that, like that piece that's there. And that piece that's there. I want to go quite grungy with this. That's kind of my aim. As I said, I'm liking that already. Right, I think it's time that we brought in the stencil. Well, is it a stencil, is it a mask? That's debatable. So what I did is I randomly cut the strips. They're not meant to be equal width in any way, shape or form. I literally cut them into strips, and then I use my glass mat that's got a grid on it, and I lined them up on the grid, and then I cut thin strips of washi tape and stuck it across the joints to create this. As I said, I don't expect this to last, but it might. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing something here I'm not really sure about with this, because it could all fall to pieces. Now, I want to come in now, I want to put silver onto here. Now, I do know, I'll leave the lid off that actually, because I've got a feeling I'm going to need more of that. Now, I do know that when you've got two bits of Yupo or anything overlaying it, lying each other, you need to go a little heavier with your paint to actually get the paint down into the design. Now, I'm going to do a couple of layers of silver. See, I told you I'd run out. A couple of layers of silver, and then pull up the silver, leaving hopefully this on the plate to give me some lines. And then I'm probably going to come in and add white, maybe grey actually, I'm not sure. I've yet to think that far ahead, because I want to build up an outline for this on the plate, and then that can be picked up then. Right, let's get a square of tissue paper. The reason I use Carnival tissue paper, by the way, is it's a water-resistant tissue. It is a little expensive, it's a considered purchase. However, if you buy it in a large bundle, which I do, then it comes in a massive sheet. And then I normally cut it into like thirds or quarters. And then, oh, I'm glad that didn't come up. See, this is the sort of pattern I want to end up with on my 12 by 12. And then I cut it up, and believe me, where say you bought 200 sheets, well, by the time I've finished, I've got more like 500 sheets. So I find that really useful, because then when I divide the cost of it up amongst 500 sheets, it's not that much. And I mean, I've been using the same bundle now for over a year, and I still haven't run out. So it goes a long way, people. It goes a long way. Let's just take this up. I expect this video is probably going to be slightly longer than normal, and I do apologise, although a lot of you very kindly said never worry about that. It's just that I can't move as fast with this hand like this, so just bear with me on that one. So right, I've got silver down there. I now want to come in, I think, I said white, didn't I? Let's put some white down. I'm going to use this chalk paint again. I could use acrylic. I want to use the chalk because it's a very flat colour. Actually, is white a colour? That's the question. Or is white all colours? I usually get very confused about black and white because they're not truly colours, but we use them as colours. So I'm going to come in again. Now I'm being kind of gentle on this plate because I don't want any of this lifting up on me. I first saw this technique done by Patricia from PM Artist Studio, and I did fall in love with it, and I use it quite often now, which basically Patricia will put down a stencil or a mask, and she will build and build and build layers and keep pulling them off and adding other layers to it. And what that will do then is it actually gives you the outline of the stencil or the mask you're using. So that's where I got the idea for this. I have seen it done by her a few times, and I've had a really fun time doing it myself. So it's something I've fallen in love with. Right, let's go back in with that Carnival tissue paper just to lift that layer off. I'm using my hand and not the Baron because I don't want to get all the way to the very edges of these strips, because I'm trying to leave behind a thin edge, so when I lift this off I will have the grid that I've created on here. I get a clean sheet because I want this to be on here, and pick this, actually I'll use a napkin. So you could do this with strips of card, or look around. I mean, have you got page protectors maybe that are made of plastic, and you could actually create shapes to put onto your gel plate with that? Right, I'm liking what I'm seeing here because it's now building up here, and I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there's stuff. I mean, look at the pull we're getting on here. It's beautiful stuff on there. Right, so I've got that, I've done silver, I want to go a bit darker now, so I'm going to bring in the Paynes Grey, and I know I've got white on this plate over here. Come on, off you come. So I don't mind if it gets a little mixed up with the white and gives me different variations of Paynes Grey either. I have no problem with that at all. Massage it in a bit. I think the trick is going to be trying to work out what colour I want to pull this with. And by pulling it, I mean pulling the final print, which then I'll go back in and work on even further. Now, once I've done the next one, I think what we'll do is we'll flip this plate over to see what effect we're having on the other side. And that's the reason I like using these plexiglass plates to sit my gel plate on, purely because what it does is it gives me the chance to look through the plate. I'm just going to lift this off here while that's drying ever so slightly. Doesn't need to be fully dry, but I do want a bit of it drying in there. That's fine. I think this bit of tissue is now going to be retired to an area where it can be used for doing collage. I did use a bit of the stamping off stuff on here because I didn't want to waste the paint. And I'm just going to pick up the bit that's on this plate. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the members of Makers and Mixed Media Art and Artist Group actually create with this colour combination, because as I said, for me this feels like quite a tough combination this month, and I think that's not a bad thing. I think if you're working outside your comfort zone, which for me this is purely experimental this month, I can assure you. If you are working outside your comfort zone, who knows what's going to happen? I may end up with an absolutely fabulous print, or I may end up with the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. But you know what? I'm having fun doing it. Right, that's going to be retired. That one's going to go onto my shower curtain, which is on the floor to cover my carpet. I'm going to come in with the previous one that we're using, and this one was still wet. So I'm wondering whether some of the white that was on this tissue paper might transfer back onto the plate. Yes, bits of it did. Okay, that's working in my favour. Now I'm going to take a bit of a risk, and I'm going to put this one down just to lift up some of the excess off here. Because I can. Because I've got this one on the go. I'm hoping it doesn't lift off the Yupo stencil, but if it does, it's not far off being lifted off anyway. Okay, that's looking really grungy. Wah. Right, so I'm almost where I want to be with this, I think. Except I now want to come in with the silver again. And what I aim to do is I want to put the silver on here in areas of this. And then lift this off, and then it's going to need to dry for a bit. So I'm going to come in with a sponge. So I've got a jar of sponge cut-offs here. This was just from, we had a new sink put into our kitchen, and it came with these big sheets of foam, and the workmen were going to throw it away. And I'm like, I really don't think I'm going to allow that. So they said I could have it, but they didn't really have a choice because I was taking it anyway. And I cut it into squares or rectangles like this, and that's what I used to sponge with. If I wasn't using this, I would use like a baby sponge, or I could use a makeup sponge. Sorry, my shoulder's probably popping in and out as I'm reaching all over the place. So I'm going to come in with the silver now. And this, as I said, is a semi-transparent. So the reason I'm sponging it is because if I put it on with a brayer, it's going to be a thinner layer. And I'm just coming in because this will add a little bit of texture as well. But it also means it will go on slightly thicker. I do hope this works. It's, in my mind, this works. And I think with a lot of stuff, you never know until it works or it doesn't work. So I'm just going to cut. Now, I wasn't going to consciously put it in one corner, but I think now I've started putting it in that sort of angle. I like the idea that maybe it looks like the light will be shining from one area. I could be completely off my rocker here and this doesn't work in the slightest, but I like experimenting. I like doing stuff that's slightly different for me. I think I want to make sure I go around the edges as well to pick up some of the extra pieces like along here, just to frame this out. But I just want to get that on there first. So as you can see, I'm just adding. I'll go up to here because I want that on there as well. I'm not sure what's going to be left underneath, but we will take a look. Oh, I meant to pop this around, didn't I? I'm going to come in and put stuff on some of the areas that have got nothing on them. Oh, so my wrist is aching a little bit now. I don't think people realise how much strength you need in your joints when you're actually being an artist, especially if you're doing gel plating. There's quite a bit to do with pressing a brayer down and smoothing down and all of that stuff. A little bit there needs it. Oh, I thought I had too much paint. I haven't got too much paint. I've got exactly the right amount of paint. Right. Now I'm going to turn this over just so we can have a look. We're only going to see part of it. Okay, so the white bits here are going to come off. But all of the underneath is going to be fine. Now, once I've taken this off, I can't put it back on again. I think what I also want to do is I want to come in with a bit of, what colour should I might use this chalk again. And I'm going to back up some of that silver with a little bit of white because it's a semi-opaque, the semi-transparent, semi-opaque, whatever you call it, the silver. So I just want to put a bit of white behind some of those areas just to give them a bit more reflecting ability. I can't think of words today, but I think you know what I mean. Basically, it'll give a bit more grounding for the silver to almost be reflective from. The question is, what am I going to pull this with? Now, I'm kind of stuck with the colours I've got. I don't want to pull it with white. I'd really like a transparency here. I mean, I do say that if you want to add a different colour to it to make it work, you can, but I was trying to not add any more colours, but I think I might need to add something. I think I like where that's going. Right, that can go in the wash bowl. Let's get that off there. So, as I said, it's going to be interesting to see what others do with this, because I don't know how others are going to actually react to this colour combination, because when I saw the request come through, I was like, oh, really? But as one of the organisers, I vowed at the beginning of the year that I would do every one of the challenges, so no ducking out of this one. For me, I can assure you. I don't think I would have run from it anyway, but... Right. I think it's time to lift this. And then I may have to take a couple of minutes break to let this completely dry, because I can't put a hairdryer on this. That would be a really bad idea. I know some people have done in the past. I'm not about to hit one of my plates with a hairdryer. I'm a little bit nervous of that, and I certainly wouldn't use a heat gun either. I treasure my plates. I'm not going to abuse them like that. I'm wondering whether I want to add a touch of a pattern behind it as well. No, let's not. I'm labouring it. I'm avoiding, if the truth be known. Right. Now the Yupo, because it hadn't been used before, will stick to the plate. So I'm being a bit ginger about taking this off. As I said, I don't expect it to survive, but you never know. I could easily be wrong. Oh, maybe I am being wrong. Maybe I was a little more thorough with my tape work than I thought. Let's take that on one side. Bear with me. I may be adding that to my collection if it stayed in one piece. So now we've got pretty much a more realistic view of what we've created. Now my plate is a bit yellowy. Okay, just so you're aware, the plate is yellowy, purely because it's an older plate. Now I could come in and immediately stamp that onto this, but I don't think I want to. I want to make sure this is fully dried before it goes onto here. And I need to work out what colour I want to use. Now, the trouble is, none of these are transparent paints. Nothing I've got in front of me is a transparent, and I would really like to pull with a transparent so I don't lose that beautiful background we've worked so hard to create. So I'm thinking, while the camera is off and everything is drying, I think I'm going to have a look through and see if I can find something that's a red-ish, because I did pull wine red. I think I can probably get away with a red transparent if I find one. To actually pull this off, and by pulling I do mean putting a thin layer of paint down that will adhere to this, and then when I put the paint background on it, it will adhere to the background as well, and then pull that off. So going to hit pause for a couple of seconds for you, well 2 seconds for you, be a few minutes for me because I need to make sure this is completely dry before I do the next bit. So I will see you in 2 seconds, guys. So here I am back again. We've had a bit of a clean up. This is as dry as I think it's going to be. I can work with this. Now I did have a good long think about, okay, how can I lift this and put it onto this, which is where it's destined. I could of course use a gel medium. It would choose clear and it would lift all this off, but I'm thinking I'm going to go with red iron oxide by Golden, which is a transparent. It is quite liquid, however, which I think will work because it'll moisten back this. And I think, what have I got to lose? It'll also give that, because I'm trying to go sort of industrial, I think it'll go kind of like that rusted colour will add to this and the silver. And I don't really want to use a matte medium because it'll seal it. And I've got more stuff to go on this, because once the print is off, I'm going to then put more detail into it after that. So I think we just need to do this, really. I'm not 100% certain about what I'm doing. I know that I don't want a huge amount, says he's squirting a huge amount on here. If there's too much, I will just remove the excess with the brayer. As I said, I'm going to be really intrigued to see what everyone else does with the colour combination of Paynes Grey and white and silver, and what their wild card choices are going to be. Right. I quite like the way that that's turning that slightly orangey. Just take a little more of that off. I don't want it to turn everything bright orange on me. Right, here goes nothing, people. Here goes nothing. And that's on there. Give this a good press down because I want the liquid paint I put on to grip hold of the dry paint that's already on there, the one we've just dried. I'm going to bring in a bit of tissue just over this edge so I don't actually end up picking up all of that, and I don't mind moving this around on that. Right, I'm focusing on pressing the edges down because that is where the paint is going to dry the fastest. I'm going to leave this sit on here a little bit, just while that's settling into it now. I could of course leave this on here for a few hours before I pick it up. I'm not going to do that because, to be honest with you, I need this to be done. So, well, we're certainly getting industrial. I'm hoping these shiny bits here, so I don't know whether you can see them, I'm hoping these shiny bits here are going to be the silver showing through. Now, I intend doing more silver on top of this, and I'm probably going to put a little bit of Paynes Grey on here as well, but it's going to be interesting because I don't really know. I mean, I like how the white is showing through in some of these places, but as I said, I don't know. on new territory here, guys, new territory. So, give this a bit of a press down. Because from here on in, it's not going to be a lot of gel work. It might be sponging. I might brayer stuff on and then pick it up. Not 100% certain how I'm proceeding here. Right, I think that's had long enough to think for itself. I think, yes, it's lifted. It's left some behind, but I don't mind that. Okay, right, so I've got the silver on there. Definitely, I can see the silver. I can see the red colour here. Okay, let's put that to one side a second. Let's pull in a bit of the tissue that we had before and just clean up this plate a smidgen. I don't know how much it's going to pick up and how much it's going to leave down. It's not picking a lot of that up, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. Right, that's okay. Now, let's take a bit of a closer look at this. There were a couple of other things I wanted to add to this. So, I've definitely got the silver in there. I like the whole ruggedness of this. Pity that I've got that stripe there, but there's not a lot I can do about that because it's my old thing about the plate is a weird shape. Now, I wanted to come in with a couple of other stencils. So I'm just going to tap that down there so it's held in place because I think I'm going to put stuff onto this now. Now, I thought I'd like to put something like Wonky net on here, but I also had an idea. Got a cotton wool bud. I'm going to press them. Not the easiest to do with gloves, Griffiths. So I'm trying to make this almost like a flat mark making tool. I'm going to take some of the Paynes Grey on my plate. I could have used the black, but I want to make sure I'm using Paynes Grey. I'm going to tap this in and trying to make this, oh, for goodness sake. Oh, I'm going to have paint everywhere, obviously. I want to make this a sort of mark making tool. And what I want to do is I want to put in something that might just look like rivets. Actually, why don't I just brayer this bit out? Because this is going to drive me a bit bonkers. Wearing gloves is not the easiest thing to be doing when you're doing this sort of work, because they stick to everything. Right, so my thought is, do you see what I mean? If I put those marks on there, they look like panels, sorry, I'm just losing the will to speak here. Do I want to do all of them? Maybe I do. Where am I up to? I can live with that, I think. Just put a couple of dots so I've got a little bit of paint there. Right, I wanted to put the rivets on, and I'm calling them rivets because that's in my mind what they are. I want to put them on first, so if I build anything over the top, which I intend to, then it would look a bit weird if the rivets came after the stuff that was going on top. If that makes sense to anyone other than me. Actually, there's a really good example. I was saying about Paynes Grey being a blue grey. If you can see that on the screen, you can see that it is quite a bluish colour. Thanks for Mariah for sorting that out for me, because I was struggling on how to explain what Paynes Grey was, and Mariah came up with the suggestion of saying that she thought it was a blue-grey, and then when I started actually looking at it in real light, then it was kind of obvious it was a blue-grey, and I just... So maybe if I was going to add blue to black, I'd probably add something like a Prussian blue to it. Or maybe take Prussian blue and add a touch of black to it to get to about a Paynes Grey. So right, this needs a clean off. My brayer needs sorting out. Because I don't want my brayer to be Paynes Grey, because I might want to put another colour on here. Now, I'm conscious that this is really quite a dark piece. It doesn't hugely bother me, but I don't want it to be so dark that it's not useful. And that will be Biscuit with the Postman. Bear with me because I'm in the house on my own today. I need to go down and answer the door. Right, where was I? So we've got the rivets on here, or what I'm calling the rivets. I like that. I now want to put some extra detail into this. As I said, I want to lighten it slightly, but I don't want to lighten it too much. I kind of thought I was going to go with white, but looking at this, I think I'd like to go with a sort of a grey colour, but not Paynes Grey. I think I want to actually have a bit of black and white mixed together to make grey. And I was thinking of using, this is one of my favourite masks by PME Artist Studio. They have 3 different sizes, I believe. This is the 5x7, I think, and it's called Wonky now. And as you can see, it's pretty solid now because I've used it often. And I think what I'd like to do is just touch down, maybe in 3 places, because you know me for 3s. Maybe just touch down a little bit of grey. Ooh, don't tell me I'm running out of black paint. No, I'm not running out of black paint. How ridiculous. I should run out of black paint? Never. So, let's take that off there. So I don't need a massive amount of it. That's one. I just want to get enough to give myself something to pick up on the mask. I'm going to use the mask almost as a stamp. I think I want it slightly lighter than that, or else it's just going to merge into the background. I want it grey, but I don't want it the same grey as the silver. I'm going to have a look and see how I want to put the silver. I think I'd like the silver a little more predominant. So I'm literally going to press this down, pick it up, tap it down, and I've got these real subtleties happening there. That will also help me clear up some of these edges. Obviously I'm getting nasty fingers, but yeah, that's not a problem. I'm an artist, what do you expect? So let me tilt this up and have a look with you. Yeah, I want something in there, I feel. And I think I'd like to pick up that bit that's quite light and tap it in there. How does that look? Just a bit more. I think I've said it on other videos. It's weird because I don't know what's right until I've done it. Right, there's quite a bit of paint on there. I'm going to just roll it onto my brayer off sheet so that I don't mind a build-up of paint on my stencils and masks, but it doesn't need to be a huge build-up of stencils and masks. Right, that needs to come off there. Let's take that off there. So I'm tempted to almost be finished with this, but to me it's lacking something. Almost like the wow factor it's lacking. I'm liking this 5x7, mind you. Let's put a little bit of that on top of the Paynes Grey one we had on the go. As I said, I'd quite like to try and add a little more of the silver in here. I think we've definitely got the Paynes Grey going. I could argue that I can see it in quite a lot of places. That's looking rather yummy, isn't it? Yes, I think we can argue it's there. Well, we don't need to argue. You saw me do it. It is there, guys. Right, now I did pull out another set of stencils, which are my own. Now, I pulled this border collection out. I designed this last year, and as you can see, I haven't yet used it because I've been too busy. It comes in 2 different sizes. As you can see, that's the larger pattern, that's the smaller pattern. And I was thinking that these could almost look like bolts, you know, as in nuts and bolts. And I was trying to work out which size when I was playing with it in my mind, because that's kind of okay. But I was thinking I quite liked the smaller ones. See, this one to me didn't do it for me, but this one did. And I'm wondering whether, if I do the small one in Paynes Grey and the larger one in silver. So I will endeavour to put the link to this set into the description box as well. I need to grab another piece of sponge. And I think at the end of that, guys, we might well be finished. I normally put something on that's a real wow factor to it. But I'm liking this. This is, as I keep saying, it's quite industrial looking. So I'm going to come in with the Paynes Grey. So I'm going to do the Paynes Grey with the smaller hexagons. Now, I created this to be honeycomb, obviously, for the reasons you can see. It looks like honeycomb. However, I'm going to use it as nuts and bolts. I want this straight up and down. And I'm not going to do the whole strip. I just want patches of it. Thank goodness I didn't cut my fingernails yesterday. See what I mean? Just giving myself pieces of interest in here. And I am purposely keeping it vertical. And I don't mind it going across these pieces. A bit down here, maybe one single row of it would be nice. Quite like a little bit up there. I'm kind of leaving this empty on purpose because I'd quite like to bring the silver back in. Right. Okay, I think, says he, dabbing another bit down, I think that's what I was looking for. No, I am going to put a bit down there. Just a little tiny cluster of them in there, just to tie it through. I'm very bad. I sometimes forget the centre of things, or I forget the outsides of things. It's weird. I don't seem to remember all of it at the same time. So, right, that's off to dry. So the silver now, if I just snip the end off this, I can probably reuse this. Bear with me. Now, I don't mind if a little bit of the black and the silver get mixed together, because that will give a kind of shading. I think I'm going to turn this up the other way. I very often turn my pieces by a quarter or a half, purely because what happens then is I tend to not just focus on one solid area. Like I tend to balance things and then find when I look at it afterwards I've missed a whole section. So, right, same technique as before. I'm just going to bring the sponge in. I'm going to come in and put these down. As I said, I'm thinking of these as bits of bolts, the nuts and bolts sort of bolts. Hopefully it will read in the final piece. That's fine, I like that. Let's put a little bit over here. I'd like it to be straight. If I do just one line of them there. I must admit, if this wasn't the colour combo, I'd probably reach for some turquoise or teal at this point to put some patina into this. Let's see, I'll hold that on the very edge. trying to conceal this edge that didn't quite get painted. Put a couple up there. I didn't say, by the way, PM Artist Studio actually does lives 3 times a week. They do them on a Tuesday, a Thursday and a Sunday. If you're doing a cup of tea, sit down, just watch it. It's wonderfully educational, it's fun, it's supportive, it's fabulous. That's all I can say, it's fabulous. I try to attend as many of those lives as I possibly can. So if you do pop in and I'm there, which I hopefully would be, unless I'm working somewhere else, please say hello to me. Say hello to Mariah and Patricia. Patricia is the mother in the duo. I'm going to come in and put a little bit of silver on some of these edges, I think. Is the mother. Patricia is a retired art teacher, so you can imagine the amount of knowledge that Mariah and that Patricia has to share, which she generously does, and I love her for that. Mariah is more of a software-based graphic artist. I always struggle with how to describe what Mariah does. Just creative people. They're just wonderfully creative people. So pop over there and see them, guys. It's funny because this month I'm launching more foam stamps. And there's a couple of foam stamps in the new launch that I'm like, oh, I wish I had that one now. But I don't, so we're just going to go with this. Right. When you have this sticky mat, there are 2 sides. You will find one that's just really flat, and then one that's got raised bumps on it. So if you want more dots, you do this side. If you want more of a grid, you do this side. So I think I want the dots. Right, let's just... I think that might be it. Sorry, sometimes I just procrastinate and I don't get something done. That's just, unfortunately, that is part of my nature. A bit that I don't really appreciate, but you know, it has stopped me in the past making some really numpty decisions. And I think we're done. I don't want to do any more to this. I'm liking where it's at. I need to clean everything up. So let's see if I can get it off this piece of this gel plate for a start. Take the gel plate out of the way. That's going to need a good clean in a minute. I think we did okay. So the brief was to use silver. There's definitely silver there, and there's silver in the shading, and to use Paynes Grey. Paynes Grey definitely in there. We can see it all the way through it. We were given the option of white. I did use white, which was the chalk white. I used it as the background more than the foreground. And I did use black, which actually mixed in with the white to give me the grey wonky net. I was allowed to add another colour as a wild card because we decided that silver was actually the metallic, which I normally would let people use a metallic. So I chose the wine red from Arteza, which is in here as well. So I've covered all the bases on that. The only one that went slightly outside for is I went and I used transparent red iron oxide as my pull, because none of the colours I had was a transparent, and it was very important for me to have a transparent. So let's just take this off a second because my hand is so hot from being in that glove. So I think I'm happy with that. I mean, I am. I was looking for industrial-ish. I mean, that's industrial-ish. I was at one point considering putting numbers on here, but then I shied away from that because I thought it would be too much. So I think that's it, guys. So anyway, look out in the description box for details for PM Artist Studio. Those are the Texas times that their lives go out. I will also put a link to the Makers of Mixed Media Art and Artists group on Facebook. I do encourage you to go over and join. Even if you join for a period of time, you can then make a decision and go, you know, it's not for me, or it is for me, and there's no rules. You can stay or leave, whichever you wish. I will put links to my new stamps and what else did I use? And the border collection. I will also put the link to Wonky Net, and I will just give you a little bit of a gift. If at checkout, if you spent more than $35, if you type KerryFan10 as a discount code before you check out, it needs to be spelt exactly like this, you will get an additional 10% off your order, guys, which if you're international, 10% actually means quite a bit when you look at the shipping charges. So, hope you enjoyed that. Sorry I was a bit slower and a bit awkward with my wrist, but you know what? I'd rather be awkward and slower than not doing art at all, because it's my mindful place. So, until next time, guys, thank you for joining me on this one. I'm Kerry the Crafter, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter. Until next time, bye-bye now.